It's time now for your weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news. This is the Southwest Outdoors Report.
Hi everybody, welcome into our show. One of the things I enjoy the very most about my job is getting to come out here each and every week and give you information that will help you be successful in catching fish on your very next fishing trip. And it's that goal in mind that brings us out today to bring you yet another tool, another method or technique that you can take out on your favorite lake and load your boat with good-sized crappie. That's right, in the next half hour, I'm going to give you a method of catching warm or hot weather crappie that will work not only on the lake we're on today, but in lakes all around our region. Now, today we're going to be on one of my favorite lakes. This is Lake Ray Roberts up in far north Texas between Pilot Point and Sanger. It's got a lot of crappie in it. It's going to work great for our test tube, but once again, the lake we're on today really doesn't matter because I promise you the technique I'm going to show you in the next half hour will work at many lakes across our four-state region. And while I'm out doing that, we're spinning you around the region for your latest fishing reports for this week from our team of reporters in Louisiana and Oklahoma and Texas, and your saltwater reports all along the Texas Gulf Coast. So, while I get my Nitro Z8 launched into Ray Roberts, let's get this party started back at the FSN studios where Julie has your weekend planner.
The Salooner tables are predicting less than ideal conditions at the lake on both days this weekend. In general, it looks like the peak times for fishing will coincide with daybreak and nightfall. Look for the sun to rise at 7:10 and set at 7:34. And evenings will be lit with a moon that is 72% visible. Stay with us, we're coming right back with fishing updates from around the area. Plus, I'll return with some advice on line usage from fishing legend Kevin Van Dam on the Whataburger Ask the Pro.
The Southwest Outdoors Report is brought to you by Costa Sunglasses. See what's out there. By Lubes, setting a new standard in fishing performance. Feel the difference. By Strand Fishing Lines, the standard of dependability. And by Strike King Lures, #1 in fishing.
Got him. Got him. Good one. Come up. Got him. Boy, that was quick. Hey, welcome back everybody. There's your good fat crappie right there to get it going. I'm going to be keeping crappie today, and I'm going to set the stage for you as to what we're doing and how you can catch these fish while it's still warm. In the live well he goes. Okay, let's get back up here on the trolling motor. Catching these fish, these crappie in the summertime is going to happen in deep water. And where it's going to happen is in the tops of the biggest trees in the deepest water you can find. This is a prime example of what we're looking for. And we'll show you in just a second what we're not looking for, but this is a big trunk tree. I think it's an old bodark or something like that, or I'm not sure what it is, a hardwood tree of some kind that's been here for a long time, sitting out here in really deep water. I'm in 30 feet of water right now, but I'm gonna be fishing most likely up in the tops of these trees. A lot of these trees have big branches that run horizontally out to the side, and we'll talk about how to fish those in a little bit. But first, you've got to get in the right location. So what you want to do in your favorite lake that's got standing timber is find these trees that are away from everything else, the ones that are isolated. I'm going to give you a pan right here behind us, but this is just a solid forest of trees right here behind us. You could catch a few crappie fishing down some of those trees, but how would you know where one is? Here, what we've done is found something different than everything else around it. That tree doesn't look like anything in that forest back here behind us. And so those crappie are going to pull into something that's out of the ordinary, that's big, provides shade, provides cover, and is sitting out in deep water where they can move up and down the water column readily. So we're going to talk about how to locate them on those trees coming up in just a minute. But the first thing you've got to do, find a big tree, deep water, that's different and probably bigger than everything else around it. Hey, let's get your fishing report started around the region. Let's check in with Brian Hughes in the state of Texas first with the freshwater report, and Bill Olson is down in saltwater.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Lone Star Lakes. This week brought to you by Gun Safes by Kennedy'sCorner.com, your source for cannon safes. Now this week we're going to beat the heat by going out to East Texas and Cedar Creek Lake, where you'll find sand bass on the points in the deeper water about 18 feet. Now they're holding above the thermocline, which may disappear with our first cold front or a good rain, depending on which one happens first. If we haven't had that, they'll be at about that 18-foot level. If we get it, all bets are off. They could go anywhere. Now crappie, they're holding tight to brush in about 15 to 17 feet of water, also above the thermocline. The bait fish won't go below that line, so the fish won't go below that line to chase them. That's how you'll figure out where you want to go to fish on Cedar Creek. And finally, at Lake Athens, a great nighttime bite, spinnerbaits along the dam and that bank that connects the dam over to the island complex on the east. That's this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by Gun Safes by Kennedy's Corner. Be sure and check us on the web for our weekly blog on Lone Star Lakes. Now let's check in with Mr. Bill Olson. He's on the coast.
Hi folks, Forever Last Hunting and Fishing Products brings you this week's report. With hunting seasons upon us, visit a sporting goods retailer or the Forever Last website for great hunting products like their 300-pound feeder, tailgate feeder, or tree hugger. Pick up a pair of snake boots, shields, or chaps, and a hunting belt or shell holder, game hanger, tripod, and more. Visit foreverlast.com and type in FOX for a 20% discount on great products. Well, anglers will monitor the potential for tropical weather that could elevate tides this weekend. The impact would first be to scatter fish and then have many of the redfish ride the tides out into the Gulf as those tides recede. Also look for bull reds to be a good option for those fishing the piers, jetties, and beachfront all along the Texas coast. Now on Sabine, birds continue to work mid-lake. Look for the tides as they drop to also pull some additional bait out of the marshes. The clam beds along the Louisiana shoreline continue to be another good option. Deeper shell reefs and well pads in Galveston as well as Matagorda bays have given up speckled trout on soft plastics, topwater lures, and live bait. Fish have also been holding in the deeper grass beds along the Lydia Ann Channel and working over the super flats. Look for back lakes to pick up more water and be options for anglers fishing the middle coast. The upper Laguna Madre has given up solid specks along the King Ranch shoreline on a variety of artificial and live offerings. The Intercostal Waterway has been seeing some solid action from Port Mansfield south to Port Isabel. Mexiquita Flats is also holding solid trout and redfish. Once conditions settle offshore, look for blackfin tuna, dorado, and kingfish action to resume. This weekend, both Saturday and Sunday have a double tide schedule of 2 high and 2 low tides each day. I'm Bill Olson, and I'll see you on the coast.
Outside tips right there. Got him. Good fish. Put it into the boat. Come up here. All right. There's another crappie for you right there. Hey, welcome back everybody. Your Southwest Outdoors Report, catching good hot summertime crappie. We're actually just about past the hottest part of summertime, but let me give you 3 more tips about this style of fishing that we're doing. Now, you'll see that one came, again, out of a far outside isolated clump right here in front of us, but that one came on the outside edge. Now, Dan Wilson, who lives up here by the lake and knows more about this style of fishing than anybody I know, taught me this. You ease in here with your trolling motor and you fish the perimeter around the far outside of each of these isolated trees. Why? A lot of times the crappie will roam. They'll roam on those outside branches, suspend up off the bottom, and you can catch them on the outside first. If you run straight into the trunk first, you'll pass those fish that are on the outside. You will want to fish the trunk or the thickest part of the tree, but do that very last. Secondly, the time of the year when this is good. Anything above 75 degrees on the surface temperature of the water will work for this. It'll work all the way until the fish get ready to transition in the fall. In the fall, they'll move up the creeks and feed a little bit, and then in the winter, they go way out in the deepest water in the lake. But this is good anytime you have warm conditions, late spring, summer, into the early part of the fall. Another good keeper crappie right there. We're developing a little keeper live well full back there. Some of these are going in the frying pan. All right, let's take you right now up to Oklahoma. Check in with Gary Dollahan, your fishing reports from the Sooner State.
Hey, we finally made it to September, and I thought fall was just around the corner, but you know what? It got hot again. The last several days have been really still and really warm in the afternoon period. And you know, as a general rule, September is kind of a transition month for your fishing. A lot of different things going on. You have to work a little bit harder to figure out what the fish are doing, but you know, this time of year can be a lot of fun. Now, Mike Taylor tells me on Okmulgee Lake, he's catching some really nice largemouth first thing in the morning, the first couple of hours, throwing a weightless worm in the grass around the edges. He said a weightless worm, a big worm 8-9 inches long, and also the salt flicker, tossing it up there, working it through the grass, catching some really nice 2 and 3 pound largemouth doing that. You know, obviously when that sun gets up, it gets bright out there, you have to change up your tactics a little bit. This is also a critical time of year to pay a lot of attention to your electronics. As soon as you launch that boat, start pulling away from the boat ramp, start looking to see where those fake balls are showing up on there. That'll tell you where the shad are running. You're gonna find your game fish relating to those balls of fish. Now, if you see your shad at 15 to 20 feet, start trying to find places or think of places that you know of that depth matches up to some type of structure, whether it's a point, whether it's a hump, some type of cover on the bottom that comes up and meets where those schools of bait fish are coming. Drop a jig and spoon down there, drop your crappie jig down there, maybe a deep running crankbait that'll run about that depth. You're gonna catch some nice fish doing that. Now, obviously this time of year is also the transition period for crappie. They're starting to come to the docks now. You can catch quite a few small fish on the docks. The next 3 or 4 weeks are going to start getting bigger and better, and a great time of year for dock shooting for crappie. But one thing about it, you can't catch them if you don't go.
The Southwest Outdoors Report is brought to you by Exide AGM Marine Batteries. Starts like new, stays like new longer. By Gene LaRue and Bobby Garland Lures. With our baits, a good day of fishing is in the bag. By Motor Guide Trolling Motors, engineered for anglers. By Whataburger, just like you like it. And by Nitro Performance Bass Boats, pure performance.
Whoa, whoa, I got one. Come up out of that tree. Way down there pretty deep. Oh no, he's around a limb. Swim out. Swim out, darling. Swim out. A lot of times if you'll go ahead and give them the lead, give them the slack, they'll swim right back out the same way they swam in. I guess I'm gonna have to go try to get this one. He's all the way around the other side of the tree. Welcome back, everybody, your Southwest Outdoors Report. Out here fishing these big trees. And I was gonna talk to you about how critical the depth is on these trees. These things are out here in really deep water, 25 feet deep or so. And what you have to do is when you pull up to one of these trees, you wanna come right up to the branches. And the first thing you want to do is just drop it down right below the branches that you can see, maybe 8, 10, 12, 15 feet down, something in that range, and see if those fish are suspended up in the branches. Then you want to let it go a little bit further down, let that jig, I'm using a little Bobby Garland plastic bait, I'll show it to you at the end of the show, but you want to let it go down a little further. You want to gradually work it down to the bottom. Now a lot of times, there, it came loose, I got him. A little persistence paid off right there. A lot of times what you want to do on crappie is drop the bait all the way to the bottom, gradually work it up. But when you're working these big branches of these big trees like this, I like to start at the top, 10, 12 feet down, because most of the time that's where these fish are going to suspend up. They're not going to be right down on the bottom. Now a lot of times if you get a big high pressure system, bright sunshine, calm conditions, they will suck down closer to the trunk and closer to the floor of the lake. But most of the time you're gonna find them up within the first, I would say 15 feet of the surface of the lake. That one's gonna be a keeper. I'm gonna put him right here in the live well. In you go, buddy. And that gives you some idea of how to find the depth that these fish are. And once again, as I said earlier, once you find the depth of one, most of the time there are going to be others either in that same tree or in other trees at that same depth. So pay attention to what depth you get a bite. Let's check in right now with Cajun Phil and Kevin in Louisiana.
Hey friends, this is old Cajun Phil with your Fox Louisiana Fishing Report. I tell you what, old Captain Kevin and I down here in Dulars, Louisiana. You know, it's been really good. We've been catching a lot of fish. We talked to Captain Bill Lake on the water. Captain Bill Lake's been catching a really deep on live crabs that he's breaking in half and putting a little bit on there. He's catching them deep. But Captain Kevin and I don't fish that way. We're up in the shallow water marshes. We're throwing swim baits, we're throwing bass assassins, and we're throwing gold spoons, and we're catching pretty good fish in the marsh. I tell you what, further east a little bit, talked to some folks down in Delacroix, Louisiana. Captain Jack said they're catching lots of speckled trout. They're catching them on live shrimp using a poppet cart. He said as far as the redfish go, a lot of grass over there. Said you either got to throw something real weedless or maybe even a gold half-ounce Johnson spoon. That's been working really well. Captain John Falderman down in Slidell, Louisiana, he's been going down to Pontchartrain Lake, and he's been catching a lot of fish. He's been catching redfish, speckled trout, and drum. He's fishing under the bridge. He's fishing around the pilings, and he's throwing mostly plastics. As far as the bass fishing goes, let's talk about Boudreaux Lake. I talked to a couple of guys that was going to Boudreaux Lake. They were catching a lot of redfish in there, but they were also catching some really nice bass going far north. They're catching them on small spinner baits, and they're catching good bass. They're catching 2 to 3 pound fish north of Boudreaux Lake. If you go a little bit further south, you're going to catch nothing but redfish. You want to make a trip? Just call old Cajun Phil at 337-540-5530. This is Cajun Phil for Captain Kevin. Said happy fishing, and may God bless. And we're going to see you folks next week.
Our great gear giveaway for September is underway now, and you could win one of 2 Mercury gear packs that include a duffel, hoodie, and tournament shirt, or a Lose jersey autographed by me, or a Southwest Outdoors Report limited edition t-shirt. Enter right now either on our Facebook page or on the front page of our website. And if you share it with your friends, you'll get 2 more free entries for every one of your Facebook friends who enters.
The Southwest Outdoors Report is brought to you by Mercury, the official outboard of the Southwest Outdoors Report for 11 years running, by Academy, right stuff, low price, every day, and by Tracker Boats, fish the finest.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for one of your questions to be answered by a fishing professional on the Whataburger Ask the Pro. This week, Brian in Waco asks, how do I know which line to use? For the answer, we checked with 7-time Angler of the Year, Kevin Van Dam.
Fishing lines have gotten really specialized, but I can tell you that fluorocarbon has become the dominant line on my rod and reels. And the reason is it's real low in stretch, it's sensitive, and the fish just can't see it in clear water. So anything that I'm fishing down on the bottom that I need good sensitivity with, you know, crankbaits, your drop shots, worms, Carolina rigs, jigs, things like that, it's hard to beat fluorocarbon. Super heavy cover, deep water, thick grass, boy, that no stretch in that braid is hard to beat. You know, you don't have to worry about the invisibility. And if you're throwing top water, you gotta have monofilament. You need the buoyancy of that line. That fluorocarbon sinks, it pulls your bait down, you lose the action. You gotta have mono for your top waters.
Thank you, Kevin. If you would like one of our anglers to answer your question, just visit southwestoutdoorsreport.com, click on the Ask the Pro link, and send us your information. Now let's see who wins a pair of brand new Costa sunglasses on the Costa Catch of the Week.
Thanks, Julie. We've made it back to the boat ramp at Ray Roberts State Park, and you can see we wound up with a really nice mess of fish after all was said and done. Got about a dozen or 13 or 14, I don't know how many's in there exactly, but some nice crappie, good payoff, fishing treetops today, and I think you can duplicate this at many lakes all around the region. Congratulations to this week's Costa Catch of the Week winner. He is Dwayne Crenshaw of Arlington, Texas, showing off not 1, but 2 largemouth bass weighing 6 and 7.5 pounds, and he caught both of those at Lake O.H. Ivy out in West Texas. He will win his choice of any pair of Costa sunglasses. You can enter the contest by sending us your big fish photo. Just go to our website, southwestoutdoorsreport.com. The right-hand side of the front page, Click in the Costa Catch of the Week box, follow the instructions, and you could be our next winner of Costa sunglasses. And you can see all of the Costa frame and lens styles again by going back to the front page of our website, clicking on the Costa logo. You can see all of their sunglasses, including this month's frame style of the month and the frame that I've been wearing on today's episode, Salt Break. Next up, it's the Academy Sports and Outdoors Right Stuff feature, the right rod and reel setup if you want to catch these crappie out of these treetops around the region. My favorite setup is the Mr. Crappie Slab Shaker Graphite Crappie Pole. It's 10 feet long, 2 pieces, so it easily folds up for storage, and it's a brand new reel, just introduced to the market. This is the Mr. Crappie Solo Reel. You can check it out on the Lew's website or at your Academy Sports and Outdoors stores. And then to catch these crappie, I always love to use a Bobby Garland. That's a Mo-Glo jig head, and I used a pretty large size. I think that's an 1/8 ounce size, and I used a baby shad, a Bobby Garland baby shad trailer, and I love that chartreuse color. A couple of weeks ago, you may have seen our nighttime flounder gigging episode with Captain Greg Verm out of Galveston, Texas. There's an interesting story attached to that fishing trip. Just a few days before we got there, Greg took a grandfather, his son, and his grandsons fishing on a guide trip with Captain Greg. The man's name was Del Turner, and that turned out to be one of the last fishing trips of his lifetime, because just a couple of days later, sadly, he was found floating face down in the Galveston surf. He had had a massive heart attack, later passed away at the hospital with his family at his side. Now, according to the write-up that I read, Del had lived a fantastic life and died doing what he loved best. But the most incredible part of this story was that 2 days later, Del's fishing rod was found in that same Galveston surf, and attached to the end of it, still swimming, was a 50-pound redfish. Amazing, amazing story. You can read the entire article on my latest blog on the front page of our website at southwestoutdoorsreport.com. The Galveston newspaper did a great write-up on Del Turner. Hope you enjoyed our trip to Ray Roberts Lake today, and once again I'll say you can duplicate what we showed you today at lakes all around our region that have deep standing timber. As long as the water temperature stays warm, you can catch these crappie. Don't forget about our show next week. We'll be on Thursday night at 10:30 or immediately after the Texas Ranger baseball game if the game runs late. We'll be on at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. Those two air times on Fox Sports Southwest, and of course you can always catch us on Wednesdays on Fox Sports South in the southeastern part of the country as well. You can watch our latest episode on the front page of our website. You can click on the YouTube logo, get all of our past episodes if you missed any of those, and click on the Facebook logo to get lots of video, news, and photos that we don't have time for here on the television show. Thanks for joining us from Ray Roberts in North Texas. Until next week, I'm Barry Stokes. Be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.